Okay, Melissa. I don't know why I always say Melissa. She's right under my picture. Yeah,
hard to forget.
Kelly, take it away.
Yes, so welcome everybody to today's Fortuna Chamber noon Zoom meeting. And Bob has graciously agreed to lead us in today's Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Bob.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hand over heart. And unison's a little tough on Zoom. Just think, row, row, row your boat, and speak loud and proud. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. Much appreciated. All right. And do we have any new members or guests joining us today?
We had somebody and then we lost somebody. I think we lost Amber. We had Amber, but we lost Amber. I was going to put Amber on the spot because she's one of our board director nominations, but then she dropped out. So bummer.
All right, then before I turn it over to Renee at this time, I'd like to wish a very special someone a very happy birthday today. Woo! Melissa Sanderson, happy birthday.
No singing because we can't pay for the song rights.
Don't sing it.
You don't want to hear this anyhow.
Unless it's the Applebee's version. I love that one.
Is it a lot of clapping?
They absolutely released that into the public domain a year or two ago. So
Did they really?
Yeah, we're super safe.
Oh, okay. Bob,
No, don't. We're good.
No?
We're good.
Renee
Okay.
and I will say to you later, Melissa.
Okay.
When we go over to our office. So
Perfect.
Renee, you want to go ahead and go over announcements?
Yeah, I already tortured her with my terrible pipes, so she's already prepared.
Yeah.
So speaking of hopefully in-person meetings, we are tentatively scheduling our June mixer with Wild Souls on June 16th. So keep your fingers crossed that we can still do that. It will be outdoors. They have that lovely barn. We'll have some fresh air. We'll pet Merle the donkey and have prizes and other fun stuff. So we'll release more details as we get closer to the date. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, we're going to be celebrating Cornerstone Realty's new owner, Kim Brown, who is also on our board nominations for our Fortuna Chamber Board. So if you have a chance and you're in the neighborhood tomorrow at 3 o'clock at Cornerstone Realty, stop on by. Speaking of board ballots, don't forget you have till June 1st to return them to our office. Decorated windows are already starting to pop up around town. So thank you to the 25 businesses who stepped up this year to request students. We had 254 graduates this year that we had to stuff into some windows. And luckily we had a few merchants who were really enthusiastic and wanted 20 or more students. So thank you, because the daunting task of 254 students was easily overcome with that. So I appreciate the help of those. We will have a public vote starting on May 19th for those who are interested in doing voting for that. And also I wanted to share, sorry, I forgot to get this ready. If you have children that are graduating and you're curious, up here, we have it on our website. And if you click on it, it'll pull up the names of the students. Sorry, it takes a second. I put in a little placeholder until we get the actual physical photos of the windows. But this way, if you're graduating, you can see what window you're going to be in. So if you want to just let people know. So we've got everybody up here. And then as pictures come in, we'll update that website. So that link is right on our homepage. And then finally, next Monday, we welcome Thomas Nicholson Stratton from the Ferndale Chamber of Commerce. So excited to hear about what's happening in Ferndale with them and beyond, and Rumiano's and some other stuff. And anyway, so that's all I have. And I will, I just want to give a shout out to Mary Bullwinkle. I know she's not here, but she did a nice story for us on our skate park fundraiser that was in this weekend's paper. So thank you, Mary Bullwinkle, wherever you are right now. I really appreciated that. And hopefully we're going to connect this week with the skate park to do a check signing, give them the check. So look for that. Thank you. That's all I got. Back to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have any member announcements today?
Oh, I have an announcement. I just wanted to say that we're hiring housekeepers in all of our regions from Oric to Fortuna. We are starting out at $20 an hour. And if anybody wants to apply, just go to vacasa.com/careers and filter for Eureka housekeeping.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bob, you're muted.
Let me just unmute myself. So tickets have gone on sale for our All Fired Up event. Is the Fortuna Sunrise Rotary. And we're doing a drive-through dinner / bingo game / virtual online auction fundraiser. All of the proceeds, all of the profit go to our volunteer fire department. So, and that's May 22nd. You can pick up tickets at either Redwood Capital Bank or Tri-Counties Bank on either end of town, or you can buy them online.
Denise already has hers. Good job, Denise.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bob.
You bet.
Denise.
Just a quick question. I didn't read the paper. How much was made at the chamber fundraiser?
Ooh, we're going to be splitting 10,000.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So we're
great.
really excited about that. Yeah. So that's going to go towards them, getting their engineering plans put together. And I know they sold a lot of shirts, and I think they got individual contributions because of it, which is great. We're not taking any credit for that. Just, people heard about the fundraiser, and so they donated directly to them, which is awesome.
Beautiful.
Any other announcements? We don't have Becky. We don't have Becky announcements today. All right. So if there's nothing else, I'd like to turn it over to our guest speaker at this time, special guest Garrett Gronowski. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
You nailed it correctly.
Perfect. From Bird. I'm super excited to hear this one. It's all yours.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me. I really just want to use this as a forum to educate you about how Bird Scooters is, one, interested in providing a fleet of electric scooters as a micromobility option in the city of Fortuna. Our team has done deep dive, and if given the green light by the city, we will bring that small fleet of Bird scooters to be really an added value to your existing transportation network. We've been able to, kind of since the pandemic hit, we repositioned our business model. Obviously, before you probably heard of Bird or these other electric shared scooter companies in larger metropolitan cities, because we needed a warehouse space, we needed a service center space, so our reach wasn't as great as it is today. So fast forward to present day, we've really been able to expand our reach into these middle-sized markets that we just couldn't have micromobility. So really what I want to use this forum as is just give you a high-level overview of what those operations look like. Of course, educate you on what Bird is if you don't have a background knowledge of that. And then, of course, open it up for any questions, concerns, words of wisdom at the end of that. Did put together a little presentation, which I can share with you now. Cool. And can you see my screen now?
Yes, it's loading. Perfect.
Excellent, excellent. So what is Bird? So Bird really pioneered this electric scooter micromobility space 4 years ago in Santa Monica, California. So we are a California company, but our ultimate goal and mission is to eliminate unnecessary car trips. We truly believe that anything under 2 miles is an unnecessary car trip. So we think that that can be supplemented by another form of transportation. Of course, our vehicle is the electric scooter. So really helping with that first and last mile transportation issue and solution that you are seeing now, but also with connectivity. Obviously, it's been a long COVID year. 55% of our rides actually do end up in front of a local business, a restaurant. So helping to stimulate the economy in that way is something that we really take pride in, and just getting the community out back into the community. Obviously, having an open air, sustainable, socially distanced form of transportation is something these communities have been really enjoying as well. So just the format, you would download our Bird app, kind of just like Uber and Lyft. And when you open it up, you would see Fortuna city limits. That would be the operating zone as well. You would see the Bird logo as you see on the screen. That means a scooter is available to rent and to ride. Again, these scooters are a series of short-term rentals. Average time being spent on a scooter is 10 to 20 minutes. Average distance is about 0.8 to 2.5 miles long. So it's a series of short trips that organically move these scooters throughout the community. We are a dockless, free-flowing model, so there's no additional infrastructure that would be needed to be implemented for us to run operations. So ultimately, we're just looking for the green light from the city themselves to kind of be like, hey, we would love to bring Bird as a micromobility option, and then we would kick off our kind of internal operations. This is the Bird Zero scooter. So this is our 5th generation Bird. Rewind 4 years ago, we were buying electric scooters off the shelves in China, putting them on the streets. Obviously, those aren't meant for ride share, so there's a lot of damages, hard to communicate with them via GPS. So we now have proprietary technology in these scooters, so it's very easy for us to communicate with them. Each Bird does have a Bird brain, so we know where it is in real time. We know if it's upright, so if let's say it is tipped over, there's a tip detection where we would work with our local point of contact. They would be notified. So we can really help where we want to park these by communicating with these birds in real time. Obviously, the transportation benefits are outlined here, as I kind of mentioned in my intro. So our approach right now, so myself is kind of the educator, seeing if the city has interest. And then if you do move forward, we usually execute some sort of operating agreement, an MOU allowing Bird to come to the city of Fortuna. You guys would then get at the city level a city account manager. Obviously, we're a data company at our core, so the more we run operations, the better we get at it. So we're able to see trends and data. The city itself would also get a city dashboard. You'd be able to see really 3 things with this. Number 1, where the birds are in real time. Number 2, where's the community starting these rides? And number 3, where are they ending? So you'll have some hard data to see where the trip utilization is happening in the city as well. And how we've been able to expand our reach into cities like Fortuna, we've actually localized our operations. So we would partner with an existing Fortuna business owner, entrepreneur, and this individual would be the face of Bird Scooters in Fortuna and actually be running day-to-day operations from sunup to sundown. This individual would be invested in the success of this program, as their compensation is based around a ride revenue percentage. So obviously every time a ride happens, that's money into this entrepreneur's pocket as well. So just kind of want to walk you through what this individual's day-to-day operations would look like. And that's going to really help paint a picture of a day in the life of a Bird scooter as well. So number 1, of course, they're electric scooters, so they need to be charged. All charging is done behind closed doors. So starting with operation, we would probably start with a fleet of 25 Bird scooters, grow that to 50, 60, probably with the Fortuna population. So this individual, they would have a workshop where they'd be charging, repairing, maintaining them behind closed doors at night. So of course, we want it to be a reliable source of transportation, charge them up to 100% overnight. On a fully charged Bird, they can go about 30 miles in a day. First thing that we do is then strategically place them into high demand areas. Again, we want to be a reliable source of transportation. We want to put these scooters where people will be utilizing them in the morning, so that first ride can happen early and that first ride can happen often. These initial parking spots, they are called bird or nest locations. There's a lot of bird puns when you work with us, so just buckle up for that. Again, these nest locations are strategic. We kind of let the data do the talking. We also love recommendations from the community where they think these birds should start. Obviously, we start them there, and then the first ride happens. So an individual would walk up to it. It's $1 to unlock, and then 30 cents per minute after that. And then they organically flow throughout the community, and that's how they move throughout the community. Again, there's no parking docks, so we are a dockless model. So we are going to use your existing infrastructure. So we'll be parking at bike racks. Another phrase is that furniture loading zone, so next to street signs and street lamps. Really, number one rule is out of the pedestrian right away. You have to go through multiple tutorials when you sign up to get a bird account. Really, what are the rules, the regulations, the scooter etiquette while on a bird scooter in Fortuna? And then we're hitting them with proactive campaigns around education and parking as well. We can't implement virtual parking zones. So in the app, you'll be able to see a parking location with a kind of a P, like a parking garage. You get an address, a picture of how it should look. And then once you get there, you have to take a picture to end your ride. That kind of gives us the okay that you parked out of the right of way. And then we can even incentivize by offering discounts, but also by the end of the ride photo. If there is inappropriate behavior, it gives us the chance to audit and either suspend, fine, or just educate those riders that we aren't seeing the behavior that we really want to from. Then throughout the day, this local entrepreneur, we call them a fleet manager since they're managing the fleet of bird scooters. They're proactively managing this fleet. So number one, they will be rebalancing. That is a bird phrase from moving low demand scooters back to high demand area. So if someone does take it from the downtown area back to the residents, we love that last mile solution. But we know it's not serving the community the best of the ability in like a cul-de-sac or by a house. So that individual would be notified saying bird XYZ at this location is in a low demand area. Let's go ahead and move it back to that high demand area so that it can serve the community the best of its ability. At that time, they're also making sure they're in good working condition, they're in good parking locations, and they're sanitizing for COVID protocols as well. Then at the end of the day, whenever the community wants to shut off scooter operations, it's usually around 10, 11, midnight. If you open up the bird app, there would be no available birds to rent and to ride. And that local point of contact would then collect the bird scooters, take them back to that workshop, maintenance them, charge them up. The next day, operations do start over again. So as I said, really just want to be working with that connectivity. The average fleet manager in the country right now, it probably would be a little bit more birds than Fortuna would have. But on a fleet size of 70 scooters, they are taking home about $70,000. So this is a significant amount of revenue for one of these business owners and local entrepreneurs to take on as well. Just a couple of the more resources that you will have. Of course, the city will have an account manager that you can reach out for any questions, concerns. On each individual scooter, there is a phone number and an email address. But my favorite resource that the community can use is called community mode. So anyone who downloads the bird app has access to community mode. It doesn't cost any money. So if you do see a bird that's parked incorrectly or tipped over, all you have to do is get out your bird app, hit community mode, take a picture of it. Our technology then aligns with a GPS, and we can send a notification to that local point of contact that a bird XYZ at this location needs to be serviced to. They get 2 hours to make sure that they get to that bird scooter. Usually, in the meantime, there's a good Samaritan that moves it into a good parking location, or someone rents and rides it and organically moves throughout the city as well. But we have those resources in place for the community. We also have implemented what is called warm-up mode. So obviously, this micromobility option is going to be new to the community. So if you don't feel super comfortable getting onto a bird scooter, you can do warm-up mode. We do govern the speed at 15 miles per hour on these bird scooters at max speed. Reason we do that, that's the average speed of a commuter on a bicycle as well. So you can the community can kind of look at the scooters and bicycles as the same. But this warm-up mode, it would max your speed at 8 miles per hour. And just so you can get a little bit used to it when you're starting to get on it. This is kind of the recommended parking locations that I talked about. So you'd see these preferred parking Ps in the city, and that is a guidance recommendation. And then again, we incentivize, as you can see in this third picture, earn a 20 cents credit to end your ride here. Last photo, you take the picture to show us that you're in that area, and then we get the A-OK. And here are just some comparable cities in size that we have launched this new micro fleet model, and we've been seeing great success. And that will do it for my presentation. So now I just want to really open it up to any questions, concerns, initial thoughts.
Yeah, this is great. So Kelly, would you like to give us your personal testimonial?
Yeah, so I was in Scottsdale, Arizona over the weekend and went to go walk for lunch, and it was too hot out, and found the birds. I'd actually never heard of them before. Downloaded it really quick, jumped on it, rode it. I think it was less than a mile, but super easy, slick to use. They're all over the place, and I've never ridden on a motorized scooter before, and I have a really bad balance issue, and it was super easy.
Yeah, so yeah, we've obviously built the scooter to make it really easy to balance on. The wheels are bigger, they're hard as well, so they can't even get flat tires. But yeah, that's a great testimony on how these will be used and getting community back out into the community if it's too hot. I live in Santa Monica, and parking downtown Santa Monica is a nightmare. So if I want to go grab lunch, like, it has made it so much easier for me to get out of the house, go grab something, where before, like, I just wouldn't drive because parking was such a nightmare. Obviously in Scottsdale, there's hundreds, if not thousands of scooters. In Fortuna, we would start about with 25 and grow it to about that 50, 75. So it is a micro fleet, but I love to hear that little case study that you guys just experienced.
I do have two questions. One being, I think about, I have two young sons, the oldest being, 15 and a half.
Yep.
And when I was reading through the disclosures, I didn't look at age because for myself, is there an age limit?
Yes, 18 years or older, and you have to upload a form of ID, whether that's a passport, a driver's license, or a state ID. And then we do have cross functionality verification. So you have to take a selfie where it then matches up to your picture that you uploaded as well. So it is 18 years or older to operate a bird scooter.
Okay. I didn't upload my ID or anything when I did it.
Interesting. That might be something with the Scottsdale and Arizona state law. So it is municipality by municipality and state by state.
Okay. My next question.
Maybe they just assume nobody would lie about being that age. Kidding. Go ahead. Kelly, next question, then Melissa, and then Mike Johnson.
Okay, my next question was how does the outreach to the business community work? I mean, I, as managing a business location here in town would not be opposed to birds in the parking lot or where, off the beaten path or the street. But how is it well perceived by other businesses, and how do you make that connection?
Yeah, there's businesses that reach out to us to try to implement like a parking area at their location to kind of create some more buzz or foot traffic around it. Or even to start birds out there. Obviously, we have that localized feel with that local entrepreneur. So this is someone that maybe the community members know as it is. So they kind of have a liaison of someone who has feet on the ground, but you also have all of those resources as well. So the email, the phone number, and then the city account manager as well. So whether businesses want to kind of promote use of the bird scooter to get there is something. But if they don't want birds coming in front of them, which I think is silly, like of course they want more people getting out, we can implement what is called a geofence area. And even if there's an area where you don't allow bicycles or skateboards and you don't want these scooters going, we would implement a layer of GPS where the bird scooters would not work or the motor would not work. Of course, at the end of the day, it is a two-wheeled scooter, so you could wheel it through, but usually when that geofence area is going, people don't go through it. It is kind of a hassle to wheel the 40-pound scooter through it without motor power.
Okay. Thank you.
My turn.
Go for it, Melissa.
Okay, I have a question for you. You said in your presentation that you guys have done some research and that you found that Fortuna is a good location to have these birds. I'm wondering how you did that research, who did it, if you guys came here, and if you like scouted out where the good locations are to put them, and why you chose Fortuna and why not Arcata, where it's like a college town where there's a lot more people on foot.
We are definitely in communication with Arcata as well. So there is kind of like a baseline checklist of what we're looking for. Like you need at least 10,000, you need some downtown feel. Obviously being in California, being able to operate all year round in a lot of these other states, like we are a seasonal business. And, but we do have a data team that does a deep analysis dive. Actually, the girl who leads that team her name is Alice. So we call it Alice's analysis. So I don't know the actual like hard data that they went through and gave us the okay for Fortuna. But obviously we get the list once it is okay, then I kind of start this educational outreach to see kind of what cities are interested in micromobility option and what are not. We have not scouted out the locations yet. That kind of comes down a little bit farther down the road once we identify an individual who's going to be managing these fleet manager or managing the scooters and being that local fleet manager. And one, we love recommendations from individuals like yourself who know the infrastructure and kind of where these hotspots are. But again, we're a data company at our core, so the longer we run operations, the more trends we can see. We actually have the ability to see where people are opening up the Bird app, looking for a ride. So we don't want to miss those opportunities. So 3-4 months down the road, we're going to be much better at running scooter operations than week 2. But of course, we love to have that local individual as well, kind of helping us run those operations and those recommendations.
Great. Mike Johnson, and then Elizabeth Wheatley, and then I saw Mike Losey's hand go up. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I've heard some of my questions already answered by or asked by Kelly and Melissa, but one, I heard Garrett use the term last mile in his presentation, so I'm sure he's looking at transit areas, transit stops as one of the locations for a nest, so to speak, a bird nest. And I can see that being a work, as far as getting from like the downtown transit stop at 11th to the park or down just different places there.
Yeah.
And such as that. And I appreciate that, but I just wondered if you had researched some of our recent transit and transportation meetings and found that this would be a good opportunity, or if your Alice's analysis might have been there.
Yeah, so I don't think that she was actually in those meetings, and that's kind of what these calls are for. I'm educating you guys on what the implementation of a micromobility system would look like. And we are operating in cities that don't even have transient networks, and they're really using Bird as that transportation network. Obviously, that first and last mile transportation solution was phrased and coined when we first launched this, and we were only operating those large metropolitan cities. Obviously, that can be the solution that it is utilized for, but the more we are operating in these mid-sized to smaller markets, is the kind of more of that new trends that we're seeing. There is a lot of joyriding that is happening in these communities. So we're seeing ride revenue and ride time almost 2-3x in these smaller markets compared to those large metropolitan ones. So obviously, this new model, we launched it this year, so we're still having a lot of learnings. But of course, if we can help with that transient to home and be that first and last mile transportation, but really we just want to be an additional option to the transportation network for the community to utilize.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yes, thank you very much. And hello all. So I'm wondering, number one, what is your median age group in your other cities that you already have this, that use this transportation? And two, what is the weight limit on the vehicle?
Weight limit is about 350 pounds, but Shaq has been on a Bird scooter. There's videos of that, so you can definitely find that. I think he's the biggest human being maybe ever. But the average age, I was actually, we just learned that's on a call, at 31 years old is the average age of a Bird rider. I actually thought that was a little bit older than what I am used to seeing, but age limit, obviously like 18 to 40 is usually what you're seeing on these Bird scooters.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Losey.
Thank you, Renee. About 2 years ago, my wife and I were in Washington, D.C., and we rode these electric scooters all around Washington. And not only was it fun, but because of the traffic congestion, we just got around so much easier. But I did have a couple of questions. One is, on the, say on a 2-mile trip, what's the average cost on one of the Birds? And then with regard to liability insurance, does your company provide liability insurance for the rider at all? Or is it just liability for your company? How does that work?
So first question, again, it's $1 to unlock and then about 30 cents per minute. So it is a meter, not a distance timer. So, I mean, you can zip as fast as you can to get to 2 miles, or if you take the long road, the long way home, you know, they say, it just depends on how long you are on that physical scooter. Even if you take a stop, you're able to lock the scooter. So you kind of lock it in as your vehicle. But if you want to end your ride, then obviously it is ready available for the next rider to use. So you're kind of risking it as if that transportation method's going to be there after you're done shopping or whatever you want. Secondly, if we do enter an agreement with the city, we will indemnify the city of Fortuna with an indemnification clause of about $2 million umbrella. On the rider side of things, you do sign away a lot in the rider agreement, but obviously I can send that over, or you can even download the bird and kind of take a dive in for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment. It's kind of a comment and a question. So just like Kelly, I went to a conference in San Diego, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago, and the birds had just came out and they were all over the streets in San Diego. And the first day when we got there, before the conference started, everyone was jumping on them and rolling around and having a great time. Well, then the next day when we all got to the conference, we were all sharing stories, and like 5 people had gotten popped for not having a helmet. So I'm curious if you make a rule with the city on helmet laws and things like that, because it was awful for the tourists to step on it and then get slammed with a $250 ticket in the city of San Diego.
Yeah, so obviously when we first launched in the state of California, helmets were required. Thankfully, we have a very persuasive and powerful government partnerships team. So they actually changed that law. So helmets are not required in the state of California, along with majority of states when you're operating an electric scooter. Of course, we recommend and support helmet use. We have helmets available for any riders through the app. All the rider has to do is pay for shipping and handling, which is about $4.99. We also even offer discounts. If you are wearing a helmet, you take a selfie before you get on, you get like 25 cents off, but by no means are they required by law anymore.
And you were saying that you need somebody with boots on the ground locally. So how does that work? Like, what is
Yep.
What do you need from a local entrepreneur, startup costs?
Yeah,
next
so
steps?
once if the city does give us the green light, that would kind of kick off our internal processes to, one, allocate vehicles to you, and then to source a local fleet manager. Again, we love recommendations from the city. If you have an individual that comes to mind who you think that would be great at running scooter operations, usually this individual has some mechanic background, they have experience with labor costs, they have existing infrastructure to be successful, so a warehouse, a workshop, a large truck or our van. And then we do have an internal team that interviews them and selects the strongest candidate. Great thing about the fleet manager program for this individual, there is no down payment for them or initial capital that they need. They will proactively pay us back for the scooters that we do give them up front. So at full operations, they will be taking home about 81% of ride revenue on each ride. So that's their compensation package. But when they're in that vehicle payback period, paying us back for the vehicles that we gave them up front to start running scooter operations, they'll be taking home 51%, and that 30% difference is kicked back to Bird to pay off those vehicle costs as well. So there's no initial capital needed, which I think is one of the coolest parts about becoming these fleet managers. But there will be extensive training and an interview process, and then selection.
And sorry, Mike Johnson, 1 second, and then you can go. Is there a place that you find that's better in a small like bedroom community like Fortuna? Like, should we think about maybe where we have a lot of hotels and that there isn't as much transportation down to some of our other areas, shopping areas?
Yeah, and of course, we'll be able to spread them out as well. So we'll start 5 scooters on the north side, east side, west side, south side, and then they'll organically move. Again, then we'll kind of let the data do the talking for us. But if there's a hotel or a business that really wants these in front of their establishment, like, we would love to try that as well. But it's a really easy lift for us to A/B test these locations on where we either start them or even have the preferred parking locations throughout the day.
Mike, did you have a question?
Look, Did you have a question, Mike? Are you coming out of retirement to be a fleet manager?
You know, you never know.
Get a company scooter, Mike.
I know. We'll
You
call
and
it the
Rex.
governor's limousine. No, I did have a question though. When someone signs on, gets the app, gets an account, is there a rider etiquette part of that? Is there like, do they recommend if you're in an area with bike lanes that you use the bike lanes, not the sidewalk, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a local rules page, which you guys would get to customize and kind of what are the top 5 to 7 etiquette rules that you want them to see. So when you open up the Bird app, it comes to the page like local rules are. They do have to acknowledge that, and then they can rent and to ride.
Thank you.
Yep.
How much noise does the scooter make? I mean, hardly. Oh, Kelly's shaking her head.
It's electric, so very quiet.
Good. Okay. Because when you were saying that they're still running around in some areas at midnight, I thought,
Yeah. It's kind of like a Tesla. You can barely hear it.
nice.
Bob, did you have a question? Unmute yourself.
Cracking himself up.
I remember reading something about bird droppings, which was characterized as vandalism, theft, and sort of random dropping the things into waterways. This is just me being curious. What kind of incidents, what kind of percentage do you guys experience with that?
Loss rate of our scooters in our fleet are about 3%. So it is not very significant at all, especially in these smaller to mid-sized markets. They really do have a sense of community a little bit more than these large tourism markets where people are coming to Santa Monica. They don't really care what it looks like or where they treat them. So, but overall for these micro fleets, these fleet managers are losing about 3% of their scooters on a yearly basis.
Cool, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob. That hit my question.
So, Garrett, if somebody was interested, like, what are the next steps for somebody? If somebody listening is deciding that this might be a nice side job for them.
Yeah, you just send me over their contact information, their phone number, their email, their full name, and then I'll kind of pass that along to our fleet manager onboarding team, and then they'll reach out for an initial screening. This is obviously all based on if we get the okay from the city of Fortuna, but then you'll go through a process and then they'll select the strongest candidate.
Great. Supervisor Bushnell. Oops, sorry. Supervisor Bushnell, you had a question?
Thanks. I just had a comment and wanted to say happy birthday to Melissa. And my second comment is I utilized these scooters in San Diego and also in Santa Cruz when I was down there with my daughter. And recently I was in Fortuna and had to get my truck worked on, and I would have loved one of these scooters to be able to zip my butt back to the vet's hall. They are really, they're a great thing to have in a little city, and really allow you to not have, especially with parking issues. I really appreciated him having those scooters around. And we spent 5 days in San Diego and never moved our vehicle and rode the scooters from the motel everywhere, all over town.
Mike, one more question, final questions?
I know, I couldn't resist. But no, actually, Michelle brought something to mind that I've had happen with me before. Taking your vehicle in to get serviced or detailed or whatever, and you want to go back to the office or home or wherever. Are you allowed to transport it, take it out of at the location where you're going to drop your vehicle and then return it to your office or to wherever? And is that something that's allowed under the terms and conditions?
You mean like put it in your vehicle?
Well, I'm just thinking if you're going to get your truck worked on, there's a lot of trucks. This is Fortuna, not Santa Monica. I grew up down there originally and left when I got old enough to leave. And it's got more trucks, buses, vans, and things do get transported and you're going to use it to get back to the original location. Is that something that's an allowable use?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best practices. If you are at the shop and your truck's getting some work done, you take an electric scooter to go back to the office, grab a bite to eat. You don't need that form of your car or that form of transportation because you have that micromobility option. Then you take that micromobility option back to the shop, your car is done, you leave the scooter there for the next user, and then you pick up your truck and you take it away.
So this might be a place where you want to educate service shops and such to, hey, it might be a good idea to have some of these out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, put a nest at Hummel and Roaches and elsewhere. Yes. Awesome. Okay, final questions, anybody? Yes, Kelly, take it away.
Time frame, Garrett. I mean, ideally in a perfect world, when do you see these birds coming to Fortuna?
As soon as the city kind of gives us the green light and we do execute either an operating agreement or a memorandum of understanding, it's usually about 3 to 4 weeks from that time that you'll see scooters on the ground.
Is Merritt on the call?
No, his better half, Sienna, is on the call.
But we have 2 out of the 5 supervisors.
We have
Can't
3.
we override them?
We
We have 3. We have 3. We have a majority vote, but it's,
Oh yeah, Jeremy's here too.
this is an official.
Yeah, let's
city council
vote.
meeting. No, we just have to convince Garrett to present to city council. That's all.
Yeah, that's usually the next step as well. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be on the agenda for the next council meeting.
Or we'll get you
So-
to the supervisors.
I just wanted to add, Merritt did plan on being here today. He had a conflict that came up that was unexpected. So I wanted to jump on. Number one, because I was curious. I've met Garrett before. We actually had a presentation already. And we were, I'm the risk manager for the city along with the other hats that I wear. So, mildly concerned, but also really excited about this potential opportunity. Excited enough that we, kind of thought what will be the next step. And the city really values this group's input, and it seems like a really logical place to start to see, hey, what's the initial feedback? So this is why the presentation took place today, and the next step would be, an official presentation to council, and then the city can determine if we're given direction by the council to move forward, to get an MOU in place, get an approval for that MOU, and then see how this thing unfolds. But it definitely seemed like it could be a good fit, and it seemed manageable. I think Garrett had really, comprehensive answers to all of the questions that we had, along with, you all asked some questions that we didn't really think of. So, I'm getting a clearer picture kind of as we go down the road, but it seems again like an exciting thing, and we would work not only with the indemnification clause, but we would work with the city's risk pool to make sure that we had all of the pieces in place that we needed to have to ensure the safest implementation of this project. So it seems exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking about when we get that roundabout down off of Kenmar, getting from Strongs Creek to the hotels and the Riverwalk RV Park and places like that would be super fun. Shooting, maybe not right now. It might be a game of Frogger getting across where the overpass is, but after we get the roundabout,
Riverwalk. We need to pave the Riverwalk so you can ride along the river.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great.
We'll get that. We'll get right on that.
Right.
There's plans in the works for better
Yes.
pedestrian, thoroughfares down in that area. So definitely on the future calendar.
Yeah,
We
that's
just
exciting.
need mud tires on the scooters.
Or that.
Oh,
They need a
yeah, we need all-terrain. We need all-terrain tires.
Make it humble friendly.
4-wheel drive in a saddle.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for Garrett today? Right. Garrett, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and enlightening us and on the bird. Much appreciated. And everybody have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Happy
Bye.
birthday, Melissa.
Yeah, happy birthday.